A common problem for Westerners in China is dealing with the squat toilets. The squat toilets will require the ability to balance and aim in a straight line all at the same time. And this is not something that many foreigners have a lot of practice in.
Oh, it's so boring.
Legs.
Well, we don't have that. We have the normal toilet seats, but I've been traveling quite a bit, so I'm familiar to use these kind of toilets. But I think it's kind of clean, actually. Because you don't sit anywhere.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah. So actually, I understand why it exists.
Another cultural difference in China is that while many Westerners consider squat toilets to be old-fashioned and less hygienic, many Chinese people also consider Western toilets to be equally unhygienic. Do not be surprised if you walk into the stall and find seat covered in footprints. Always remember to take some tissue paper with you, just in case nature called. Different from Western washrooms, toilet paper is not prepared in the individual stalls in most of the washrooms in China. An American scholar who has studied toilet culture around the world found that the cleanliness of a toilet and the habit of going to the toilet are tightly linked to the civilization of the nation. She found that a modern civilized nation would always keep the toilet clean, and well-educated people would never relieve themselves in awkward places.
Well, this is not something I ever expected to be doing in front of the camera, but for most Westerners, this is a fairly familiar situation. The main advantage of the Western-style toilet or washroom is that it's very comfortable. I'm comfortable sitting here. I've got a place I can hang my coat over here. There's good air conditioning and filtration, so the bad smells go away. Generally, just sitting here, you feel very much like a civilized human being.
Washrooms in China can be classified into these categories. For 5-star washrooms, they're well equipped with toilet paper, soap, and hand dryer. Someone is taking care of the toilet, where the floor is covered with marble stones. The 4-star washrooms are not as clean as the 5-star ones, without toilet paper. Toilets in most of the airports in China belong to this category. The 3-star washrooms use squat toilets with no toilet paper. The washroom is wet and smelly. You can find these toilets in schools or public toilets. The 2-star washrooms are dirtier and stinky. These are the toilets found in train stations or shopping markets with numerous people. And the last type is the worst. We don't even want to go there.
Well, we're here in what is just an absolutely delightful atmosphere for a washroom. Actually, the word toilet comes from the French word toile, which means kind of like linen or cloth. And why it comes from it is because when women in older France, especially richer women, were getting ready, they'd basically need a couple of assistants to help them get ready and put on all of the cloth and all the dress and all the stuff they were going to wear. And then they would go into a room like this, and they would do their makeup, and they would put on their perfume, and they do all the little other niceties that a woman does to get ready. And this was known as the toilette, or what we call toiletry in English. It's also where we get the expression eau de toilette, which is kind of like a perfume, also comes from that source.
In many more developed countries, such as America and Singapore, you always find 5-star toilets in public places, or at least they're very clean. Though we don't expect 5-star washrooms in public places in China, it should be clean enough to be used. The difference between China and Western countries not only lie in material civilization, but the concept of social habits.
股市又跌咗仲食飯食幾死人頭咩？邊有錢食飯啦？第一個吹數吹到咁，下房租又冇得交，哎呀，哇！你唔好嘈啦，交房租，交咩房租啫？真係啊！下次啫，下次，哎呀，嗱，上緊廁所啊，冇廁紙，哎呀，唔好嘈啦，唔好嘈，咁個人嚟，整第一次，哎，真係。
Westerners may wonder why Chinese people love talking in the toilet. Chinese people line up differently from their Western counterparts as well. It is probably because people were tired of seeing long lines in the restroom, and somehow they started to form lines in front of individual toilets. This way, the line seems shorter, and people can hope that the line they have chosen will be the express line. The question of whether to form a single queue in front of a service with multiple stations or multiple queues in front of each station is a subtle one in North America. The convention is that for toilets, a situation where many people are likely to be equally in need of quick access, people tend to form a single queue where it is strictly first come, first served, rather than to trust in luck of selecting a line that is moving quickly. Smoking may be seen as an enjoyment for most smokers. However, smoking in the toilet is not. Separation by sex is characteristic of public toilets to the extent that pictograms of man or woman are used to indicate where their respective toilets are. These pictograms are sometimes enclosed within standard geometric forms to reinforce this information. Pictograms depicting men and women in traditional dress, men in pants, women in skirts, have been criticized for perpetuating gender stereotypes in the West. There's a Chinese saying that man left and woman right. So the chances are the man's toilet is on the left, while the woman's is on the opposite. But that's not a golden rule. Different from gender-neutral washrooms, you can also find toilets without signs on the doors in some restaurants in Guangzhou. This is usually because of limitations in usable space. There are also gender-neutral toilets in the West, but usually because of concerns of gender-variant people, although this is still very rare and often controversial.
Well, for many people, all the different names surrounding toilets can get a little bit confusing, especially if you're an English learner. We don't use the word toilet so often in North America to describe the room because it's kind of become like an impolite sort of word, simply because we call that the toilet bowl. So very often instead in North America, you'll hear lavatory or restroom or washroom or bathroom. Each of these words has its own sort of history. Lavatory comes from the Latin. It basically means to wash, so washroom and restroom also come from that. You also see WC very often. WC stands for wash closet or water closet because the original toilet invention, the indoor toilet, was originally called the water closet.
Forming a good toilet habit is important to give foreign friends a good impression, as well as to keep our lovely city clean. So let's start from you and me.